Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we are, well, I did say I wasn't really going to look at premiums every time they're coming up, unless it's something really interesting. And that's why we are looking at the Black Yamato, which is technically a premium ship. I am sure it's going to be sold via loot crates of some description, but that's not the point here. The reason why I'm looking at the Black Yamato, which, well, it's a Yamato and it's black, is because there's a new mechanic coming in. So let's have a very quick look at that before we move on. And that new mechanic is the scout plane. So this is the first ship in the game that gets the scout plane ship skill. And this means we can launch a scout plane into the air, and it increases our main gun firing range by 12% for 30 seconds. We get 2 charges of that skill. And we're getting a rapid reload as well, because it's a black ship and they tend to flip between the precise aim and rapid reload between the tech tree and the blacks or the premium ships. That is something you often see. Like on the Alabama is an American ship with a precise aim, whereas the North Carolina would be one with the rapid reload. Right, so let's go for a quick comparison, just to make sure that we understand what is different between the two of them, other than that. Now, the original Yamato gets the Precise Aim 2, which gives us 35% accuracy. It's an interesting question, and I'm going to have to explore that more in a separate video. But what does that mean? I think my guess today would be that it shrinks the ellipses of where the shells are going to land. But yeah, that's the thing. But 35% is definitely decent. Now, the Black Yamato, as we mentioned, gets the Rapid Reload 1, which isn't doing a great deal, honestly. Like, it's nice to have, but it's not like a Rapid Reload 3, which would make like a hell of a lot of a difference. So there's that. But then on return, she does get the scout plane. And other than that, they are extremely similar. The Black Yamato has marginally more hit points, which really doesn't matter in practice. The guns, everything else is completely identical. So this one is really about the ship skills being different. So, what have I done? What have I done in terms of equipment? I have used the main battery mod 3. I haven't played the actual tech tree Yamato, so I don't know what the canonical setup would be for that thing. But given the sheer range on this ship, I figured, it's a Japanese ship. It's probably more of a back row sniper than a front row ship. Although the armor on the Yamato is not bad. But because I don't get the precise aiming skill, I'm going to deal with this one. The thing is that this reduces the shell dispersion by 7%, not by... And I don't think the 35% is a dispersion reduction in that, because the wording is different. I don't know. We'll find out. But it's not quite the same as the actual ship skill. Still, that sounded like a good idea. And I have actually used the deck protection mod for slot 2 because fire flooding resistance isn't great. What is pretty good on the Yamato, though, is the torpedo defense. So instead of the more canonical build with the steering gear mod and potentially the propulsion modification, I have actually used the torpedo defense. And that is mainly in order to not necessarily so much deal with destroyers, although it does come in handy occasionally, but more to deal with airplanes. Because if a carrier starts focusing on you and torpedo drop you, there's fairly little you can do in something the size and maneuverability or lack thereof of the Yamato to avoid that. So this, in combination with the relevant ship skill, and here you can choose between main battery reload, traverse speed, and the torpedo damage reduction. So I figured I'll stack this for a complete torpedo damage reduction build, because 3% isn't going to do a huge amount. On something that you could couple it with the reload mod in the first slot and then the reload booster and go on full on reload. But I figured I'd give this a spin and see how this works. It's not the only build, right? You definitely can do other things here. But that gets our torpedo defense, torpedo damage reduction up to almost 36%. So that is nothing to sneeze at. I have actually put the historical camouflage on. And the reason for that, I mean, this costs 6,000 gold. But for someone who spends potentially $100, $200 on crates to get this ship, I don't know where it comes out in, but they are more than likely to also spend the additional couple of bucks to get the historical camouflage, which gives us more hit points, more range, secondary range, and torpedo damage reduction. Once again, this is where I've been stacking. I would have loved to get better dispersion here, because again, this is for two reasons. First of all, I'm not getting the precise aim, and it shows. And for a second reason, and we get to that in 1 second once I'm through with all the details here. I have put Commander in. He's obviously slightly different in terms of setup for what you would do in a tech tree. But no surprises in the first ones. I've got the Fire Supremacy for an additional rapid reload, because you only get 2 out of the box. And the Generalist here, obviously not the Marksman skill. In return, you get Fully Prepared, which gives you faster repair kits, which is also good. Extinguisher, obviously, and you can't really take Compartment Maintenance, because you will really want the Master Reloader here. And the Demo Expert is kind of my go-to. You could go with Close Quarters, but then again, most of the time you will be shooting from the other end of the map. Which gets us to, and I think I'm covered everything else, which gets us to, well, the problem with the scout planes. And this might be device specific, but I'm reasonable. I've heard this from other people as well. The problem is that the Black Yamato, and in some way also her tech tree equivalent, has a range of 16 kilometers. And the game doesn't render properly at that distance. Now, this is a problem that you already have with the regular ships. This is obviously exacerbated to some degree by adding another 12% range with the scout plane. So while it is very nice to have that extra range, it is actually reasonably difficult to hit anything at that range, because the target ships oftentimes aren't getting rendered. And this is this can't be a hardware problem, because I literally have one of the most powerful gaming phones that you can get at the moment. So you can't get much more powerful hardware, and I've heard this from Apple users as well. So this is definitely more of a game engine problem. But yeah, this is a bit of an issue, because, and you'll see it in the battle, because what do I gain from the extra 12% range if I can't hit anything? Well, there's a second aspect to it. Because the scout plane, and it doesn't say that in the description here, but you'll see it when we use it, doesn't just increase your range. It increases your view angle. Because just like in PC, you actually get to target from the view of the scout plane. Now, the scout plane doesn't fly all the way there, so you're not getting a top-down carrier-style view. The scout plane literally just circles around your ship, and you get to aim from the view of the scout plane, which allows you to do funny things with islands. And that's what we're going to get into. So let's have a look at some gameplay. In the first game, and I do apologize once again for the presence of bots. I generally try to avoid having bots in my footage, but because of the extremely aggressive matchmaking at the moment, it is rather difficult to get games without bots sometimes. So in the enemy team, it's obviously a 10-tier game. In the enemy team, we do have an Essex, a Montana, a Worcester, Neptune, and a Daring, and 2 bots which don't really count. So there we go. Let's have a look. We do have a Smolensk on our side, and as is customary, the team with more Smolensks generally wins. But a fair amount of cruisers around, and a couple of destroyers as well. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how she plays and how she behaves. There is a Montana on the enemy team who's probably not all too happy about this setup, but yeah, we'll see what we can do. We've got a Jutland with us and the obvious Smolensk. So the carrier is giving us fighter cover over here, and this seems to be scouting over into Sea Cup, which is much appreciated. There's only one destroyer on the enemy team, except for the bot, who doesn't count because bots don't really launch torpedoes very much. But there is a Neptune, which has a fair amount of torpedoes, so this could still get interesting. But Sea Cup seems to be relatively clear. Okay, there's the bot Yugomo, so that's a non-issue. Smolensk can kill that if she wants to. And there is, what is the other one there? I think it's the Ibuki, and that's also a bot. So we got the bots on our side. All right, got lucky with the draw here, so we can just keep sailing through Sea Cup and until we get into range of something. There's the Montana, so I'm going to try and start shooting at the Montana and ignore the bots mostly, unless I have nothing else to shoot at, and get some shots out there. And then we can use, I mean, we can use the secondaries. The Jutland is trying to torpedo the bots. Good luck with that. Oh, he actually took a torp. Not bad, not bad. But yeah, Smolensk finishes the map, and the Monty is kind of behind an island there. So I'm just gonna dump that into the Ibuki and just delete that bot. But yeah, that's not what we're here for. So at this point, I'm gonna stop here because I am inside the capture circle, and I want to start shooting at the Montana. Now, noted that the Montana is behind an island. Alright, so our guns should be about reloaded by now. Yep, there they are. And there's the Montana. So I'm getting a scout plane up, which gives me an elevated view. What it doesn't give me is more gun elevation. So my shots just go into the island. So that's just something you got to learn, that even though it looks like you should be able to lob, you are not going to be able to lob necessarily, because you're viewing literally from the perspective of the scout plane. So if you're zooming in on your main guns while the scout plane is up, you are getting the perspective from the scout plane. So that allows you to see a little bit where that ship goes. And at this point at this stage, I can actually lob at that distance. But I think those shots are not landing on target. We have run out of things here to shoot at. And yeah, the Montana is running. And so we can, if the Smolensk could get out of my way, we could turn our attention towards B Cup and do something about that, because while we are one kill up, and I assume that the enemy team has just killed the bots on our side, the enemy team's definitely going to come around A Cup at some point, and the carrier is awfully alone over there because he's not moving. In the meantime, once again, we have nothing else to shoot at, so we're just going to shoot at the Montana. And these guns take a while to get there, but they do hit very, very hard. Okay, the Monty is probably dead. Smolensk is going to burn him down before I'm reloaded. Yep, there we go. So we are heading into B Cup. There is still a destroyer, but even, yeah, there's a Daring and there's the Worcester. Now, Worcester seems to be going after the carrier, which is not a terrible idea in a Worcester because, you know, AA and such. So let's see if we can help the carrier out a little bit from here. Now, this is where I would have loved to have a precise aim, but I don't, so we're going to have to make do with whatever we can. That's 1 hit, 2 hits, 1 Citadel. So lucky Worcester. If I had gotten 2 more hits on target with maybe another Citadel, that would have been the end of him. Yeah, I'm slowing down because there's a Daring, so he's single firing torps, and Worcester has kind of rapidly stopped. I have no idea why, but yeah, these single fire torps are not gonna hit me because, well, that would be too easy, wouldn't it? Okay, we've dealt with the Worcester, but not before our carrier has been Worcered. And I don't know if the enemy carrier was involved. Okay, I am getting torpedo dropped, but yeah, there's the Neptune, who is now gonna run. There's the Daring again. So once again, I am going to have to, you know, dodge torpedoes, which shouldn't be a huge problem because if he can't get any closer because I've got a Smolensk, and well, he's just and I've got a Jutland here as well. So I'm just gonna vary my speed and course, but yeah, it looks like the Daring is buggering off, so I'm just going to set some shots after him, and then we're going to turn around and go after that Neptune. So the enemy carrier is still somewhere. Oh yeah, there come the torpedoes. See, this is why I was slowing down, you know? You don't need a steering gear mod and a propulsion mod if people are aiming like this. Now look at the Neptune, yeah, and now I can use the scout plane and actually look over the island to see where the Neptune is, because I can lob this, but I wouldn't have otherwise been able to see where the Neptune was sitting. So I managed to get those shots on target, and once again this guy got relatively lucky. The carrier isn't going to kill me because this is a full damage over time prevention build. Neptune smokes up very wisely, so I'm popping the next rapid reload. About 8-9 seconds is where you want to use that. It's not making a huge difference, but it gets it down to like 19 seconds instead of 23. Okay, that's a couple more good hits on the Neptune. Yeah, I know. You're going to flood me again. These torpedoes just barely make a scratch in the Yamato with that setup, so I can just concentrate on the Neptune. Now the Neptune has a lot of torpedoes and he is smoked up, so he might be sending them my way, single fire style. Okay, can I get the kill on the Neptune? There's a couple of shots out. And that is the world's luckiest Neptune. That was an overpen. But yeah, someone's gonna kill him. So that just leaves the enemy carrier. Oh yeah, there come the Neptune torpedoes, but he hasn't single fired, so it was not such a big issue. So we're dodging all those as well. And even if they had hit, you know, oh, he's still alive. I can't get around, so I don't have a shot at him. Smolensk can kill him, or Daring. I'll get some shots off at the carrier in the meantime, and just return the favor, you know. Someone can kill them. Okay, Smolensk kills the Neptune. Well done, Smolensk. So now it's just the matter of dealing with the carrier, and he's gonna flood me again. Oh dear, whatever am I gonna do? Yeah, I kind of like this setup actually, but one of the big benefits that you get out of the scout plane is to have these sort of view angles that we get. And let's see if we can get the kill on the carrier. No, we cannot. This is the world's luckiest carrier once more. You can increase your view angles to such an extent that you can actually look over islands because you're viewing from the perspective of the scout plane. So that is actually a really good feature of that thing. And yes, other than that, look, it's a Yamato. It does Yamato things. It's easy mode, right? Sort of. You've got really big guns. You've got a lot of armor, and with this setup, you're not too afraid of being burned down or flooded down too easily. So it's not that difficult. But let's do it again. And I'll show you what I meant earlier with the rendering distance issue. In this game, we're up against Ohio, Vermont, Conqueror, Yamato, there's a bot Izumo, and Des Moines and Ibuki. So a much more traditional tier 10 battle. Mostly battleships. And we're in an encounter, so it's going to be a long-range slugging match. Which means that positioning and steering and changing speed and such things become a little bit more important. And that's not how I've set the ship up. So, but well, we'll see. So you'll see what it can do in this kind of configuration. Now we've got a Zhao, which might have a relatively decent stealth, and we've got 1 DD, whereas the enemy has no destroyer. So the Zhao should be able to outspot everything on the enemy team, which means I can, just gently follow the Zhao. I'm just looking where everybody else is going. And I recorded this, I think before the ship came out. There's the bot Izumo. So we could make our presence known here, and yeah, let's just get that thing out of the way. Because they have a nasty tendency to fire high explosive, the bots, and then set you on fires. So we got some damage in, we're obviously spotted. But nothing else is spotted just quite yet, so I was not really seeing anything. Oh, there's the Des Moines, okay, we've got Des Moines, and we've got Vermont. And we've got Conqueror. Oh, wow. Okay. Des Moines priority target, and I am putting her in reverse because that's a lot of AG spam. Des Moines and Conqueror. Yeah, I'm not going there if I don't have to. I've still got Zhao and Vermont with myself. Des Moines is obviously starting to angle, so I'm never going to hit him from here. So I'm just going to unload onto that broadsiding Vermont in the meantime. And my team is firing at the bot, obviously. So yeah, I'm just gonna start doing some damage. Now that Conqueror is actually probably the bigger threat to me at the moment, because of, well, the fires that the damn thing can set together with Des Moines, whereas Vermont obviously hits very hard when he hits. So I'm still reversing, and I'm trying to get outside Des Moines' range, because yeah, there you go. Okay, let's stomach on that. I should be outside Des Moines' range. Des Moines doesn't have the greatest range of all ships. So I'm just having to deal with Conqueror in terms of AG spam. If I get a shot off at the Des Moines, that'd be worth it. Otherwise, we'll be just, well, let's shoot at the Conqueror. Conqueror doesn't want anything there, so he is reversing. And this is where it gets difficult. Okay, Des Moines has popped back up again, and obviously shooting at me. Everybody's shooting at me because I'm in a press account and I'm in the new ship. So looking at the dispersion, yeah, you get one shot on target or something like that. This is where it's actually a little bit more difficult because you don't have the precise aim, which would have been really nice in these sort of scenarios. But I do have a rapid reload, so I'm going to give another shot at the Des Moines, who's maneuvering widely. But look at that dispersion. Look at that dispersion. And it just splashes harmlessly next to the Des Moines. So, okay, I'm going to give up that. give up on that and just back off more. The Conqueror is out of range at this point. He's no longer shooting at me. The Vermont seems to be pointing his gun somewhere else. So let's remind him of my presence. And I do have a friendly Vermont over here, which is trying to do something about the Des Moines. And yeah, you're not going to get a lot of shells on target, honestly, in this thing. That's just the way it is, because at the ranges you're shooting without the precise aim, it's painful. Even something the size of a Vermont, and I mean the Vermont is the size of a medium-sized city. This thing has multiple postcodes, so yeah, we can get some shots on target occasionally if we're lucky with the dispersion, and he keeps broadsiding me like that. But if he was actually actively trying to dodge anything, it might be a different story. And yeah, don't even try the Des Moines. So I'm inching forward again, and we're trying to wear down the Vermont. Blind shots out. I do have a friendly Vermont who isn't taking any fire because everyone's shooting at me, which is fair enough once again. We have lost our bot and we are still taking fire, but the Yamato's armor isn't bad. Okay, there's the Des Moines, and he seems to be otherwise occupied and is going after our destroyer, which is good team play of him. But once again, he's in a turn. It's probably hard. Maybe I can blap him from here. Let's give it a try. But he is coming to the edge of my range, so I'm using the scout plane. And there you see what I'm talking about, right? Look at that. It's not actually rendering clearly anymore, and it's just stuttering. So the shot's out, but he was in the turn at that point, I think, so that didn't do anything. Oh, I've still got 2 hits on. That one was more by luck than judgment, honestly. But I'm gonna, since I have the scout plane up, I'm gonna use it to target the Vermont. And I think Vermont might be in a full turn. No, he's just going bow in because he's low on hit points. So shots out at the Vermont. And scout plane is down, so that's my last heal. Off it goes, and we're pushing because, I mean, we're 1 kill ahead, but that doesn't mean anything. The destroyer could go down anytime, and our cruisers on the other flank are coming under pressure. So let's kill something and just make sure. Let's see if we can kill the Vermont. Of course, he's shooting at me again. Shots out at the Vermont, and there's the Conqueror once more. And the friendly Vermont takes him out first, so I couldn't get to that. But there's a fully broadsiding Conqueror over there. And he's at under 16 kilometer range, so rapid reload up and see if we can do something about that guy. Of course, he sets me on fire, and I'm out of heals at this point because I've been tanking the whole time. Vermont goes forward. Let's see if he can do something. Yeah, that was a good set of hits, a good chunk out of the Conqueror there. Let's see if he can take some of the fire instead of me. But yeah, once again, fire prevention build. Okay, 2 fires. We'll double on that. And shots out again after the fleeing Conqueror. Now, I'm slowing down a little bit because I am on 16,000 hit points, and that was my last heal. Shot one of his guns off. He's obviously going to try and shoot at me, so let's see if we can dodge that a little bit. No, actually, he's not shooting at me anymore. Perfect. So I'm just going to wait for my... But you can see it already, right? Look at the stuttering over there. He is outside my range, which means I can extend my range with the scout plane. The problem is... it's reasonably difficult to tell where the Conqueror is actually going because we're getting a frame rate of like, I don't know, 4 or 5 or so. So there are my shots coming in. They're falling a little bit short because he seems to be a bit faster than what I was thinking. Is he turning left? It looks like he would be turning left, but it's really difficult to tell with the frame drops that we're getting at this distance. And this is just rendering distance. This is just game engines optimizing and not actually rendering things that are very close. So we are still getting the hits in, but it is reasonably difficult to actually aim at something at this distance. You do get a feel for it after a while. It's not completely useless, as you can see. Like I was able to shoot at the Conqueror when he was technically outside my firing range. And yes, we've done once again a very, very respectable amount of damage, and have done Yamato things. So I can't compare the Black Yamato to the regular Yamato because I haven't played the regular Yamato, but that's something I still have to do actually. From the ship itself, I think I prefer the precise aim over the rapid reload. But obviously, combining the precise aim and the scout plane would have been absolutely devastating. Because, I mean, yes, you do have the problem with with the rendering distance. but especially if they're players, it's not so obvious against bots, but more against other players. So yes, it is a little bit more, it's more difficult to target, but the range for me isn't the key of this whole setup. The key of the scout plane for me is the increased visibility from the elevated position of the plane that cycles over your ship and lets you actually peek over islands and get much, much better shots on target that sit behind. Because previously I would have been blind firing, and with something that has a relatively long reload, blind fire isn't that great. So there you go. I like the mechanic. And I'm looking forward to seeing more scout planes. I don't know if it increases your detection of things like destroyers or something, because it is technically an airplane, but it doesn't really fly very far. So I don't know if it actually would increase that as well. But the primary function for me is either to get some shots off at ships that are just like mostly battleships, really, because honestly, at those ranges, you're not really going to hit anything that actively maneuvers. But you can get the occasional shot off at ships outside your normal gun range, and you can... but yeah, the primary focus for me is that you can actually peek above islands and see where other people are positioned, and then get much, much better shots on target. So we'll see if this shows up in more ships and lines down the road. But for now, it's on the Black Yamato. Other than that, it's a Yamato which isn't quite as good as the Tech Tree Yamato, besides the scout plane. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.